The natural reaction to walking in on a girl as she's changing, throw ice at her butt. It feels like it's been a long time since I've been this invested into a Key Visual Arts property. Yes, for those who don't know, Key Visual Arts is a studio that does a lot of visual novels, and I've always felt like a lot of their adaptations have been kind of hit and miss. It's honestly been a long time since I've actually had one where I'm like, oh my gosh, I actually really like this show. I mean, we go back to Prima Doll, which was alright, Planetarian was decent, Rewrite was horrible. Charlotte was Shrug, granted not part of a visual novel. I'd have to go all the way back to Little Busters, and even then, I didn't really care much for the second half. I love the days of Clannad, Air TV, Angel Beats, and yes, Canon. I mean, those series were so fantastic with the chemistry, the comedy, all that stuff kind of mixing in with what would be an unusual visual novel, which is the routes of the different girls and their particular dramas they're going through. Now, I won't claim that Summer Pocket so far is some sort of return of the king. But I'm getting a sense of Clannad here, and that's what I'm really liking. This idea of Tomoya going around and just messing with the girls, and this fun chemistry between the two of them, and the comedy just actually hitting. I haven't quite got to a point where we're going to get into the actual drama of the girls yet, even though it does look like it's kind of brewing up one of them, and it could come to an impactful ending. And I think that's really going to be telling whether this could be, again, a return of Clannad or something like that. But I've watched the first 4 episodes of it, and this is my thoughts on it so far. Summer Pockets opens up with a guy named Heidi Takahara, and he is currently going over to this one island to spend some time with his aunt. He got a letter at some point or a request from his aunt saying that, yes, his grandmother has passed away. She has this one shed at her place where it was just full of all this stuff. Apparently, she used to travel around a lot, and so she used to bring a bunch of stuff back home, and it's all in the shed. So this aunt needs some help cleaning it out, and since it doesn't seem like he has much to do that summer, he decides to come over there and help her out with it. We do find out later on there's some sort of issue that Heidi is going through, and the idea that he used to be a part of the swimming club, and something happened. Something happened there, and he just wanted to get away from his home. So this is sort of an excuse to get away. And yes, while he's here, he's traveling around the island, most of the time not even spending time with the aunt cleaning out the shed, which seems like it's something that she's okay with. It does seem like the aunt wants to kind of help him out, knows that he's kind of in a bad place, and wants him to get out and meet people. And this is sort of turning into this thing where Heidi, again, is meeting all these different people on the island and just having fun. It's sort of a callback to youth. The idea of just kind of being reminded what's important. Get away from your life, get away from technology, get away from the expectations that you have, and just have fun. The idea of kind of rediscovering summer. One of the characters asks him at some point, what was your favorite summer? And he gets in this idea of kind of questioning if this might be his point in which he can finally discover what's so special about summer. Having a real summer vacation. Having fun, enjoying life. But there is also a sense here that there is things that are kind of nostalgic to Heidi on this island. Even though it does seem like this is the first time he's ever been there, it does seem like a lot of things are familiar to him. So this might actually be a case where he just doesn't remember much of his childhood that he may have spent on the island. But yes, during his time there, we meet several different girls because it is, again, a Key Visual Arts visual novel that does have different branches. And typically with these stories, yes, you choose a girl and you kind of go towards their storyline, get to know them more until eventually it comes to some climactic end for that particular character. And yes, we've met several of them so far. One of them is Shidaha, and Shidaha is kind of interesting. Shidaha, overall, her storyline so far has been that she is a girl that's kind of an outcast to all the other kids on the island. Doesn't seem like she wants to get to know anybody, is very distant from them, doesn't communicate much with them, just kind of keeps to herself. He ends up bumping into her late at night. She's swimming in the school pool in her underwear. Kind of bumps into her because he was lost. She helps him, get some direction to get back to his aunt's place until eventually telling him to get lost. And then later on, he bumps into her again, but this time she's got a swimsuit on. But this time he gives her a few pointers because, yes, he's done swimming before, so he's able to tell her a few pointers to learn how to swim, and later on she thanks him for it. And over time, it kind of feels like he's the only one that she sort of connects to. Even goes so far that she gave him her first name, which, for those who don't know, is kind of an oddity in the situation here. You typically give a family name. It's only people that you're close to that you would give your first name. But yes, he bumps into her several times. Most of the time, it's like some goofy thing where he catches her off guard, and it always throws her off. And again, everybody else just kind of keeps her distance from her. She kind of does seem like she's aloof to the entire crowd. The next girl we meet is Ao, and she's a part of the youth group that is on this island. A lot of our interaction with her so far has just been mostly comedy and a little bit more in the ecchi realm, and the idea that, yes, the first time that they meet, she's half asleep on the side of this tree. He goes over to kind of catch her before she falls off the tree and bumps her head, and she wakes up, panics, and says, "Oh, you gotta do something to me, just go slow first." And he's like, "Oh, so you can go rough after that?" And then, yes, she's the one that he walks into when she's changing, and he throws ice on her butt. before they proceed to throw ice on each other as sort of an eye for an eye situation that keeps repeating itself. But yeah, she's a lot of fun. I get a huge kick out of the two of them. They got more of a more mature, but still kind of silly relationship between the two of them that's kind of building up. We have Umei, who seems to be another relative of his aunt, who is also staying with his aunt, and she kind of cooks him rice every single morning. Very young, very kind of more innocent. Have quite a few fun little exchanges between the two of them. I feel like she's sort of the Fuka character of this one, if anybody has watched Clannad, who's the more young, naive type of character that he constantly teases in some way, and she completely falls for it. There's a whole exchange of them doing rock, paper, scissors to kind of assign themselves duties in the house, and she cannot help but express the type of selection she's going to make, so he's easily able to kind of read it. But yeah, they do give a sense here that she seems to have some sort of problem with her family, as we do get a brief shot of her at home eating rice by herself. Her father comes home, completely ignores her. I would assume that maybe she probably doesn't have a mother, and the father seems to be always working and doesn't really pay much attention to her. We have Sumagi Winders, who is this girl that is constantly hanging out at this lighthouse and seems to be looking for her purpose in life. I don't know, probably a ghost. I assume a ghost because she's always at the lighthouse. And finally, the last character that we get into is Komay. And Komay feels like it's going to be the first character that we probably flesh out the story with, because it has spent quite a few episodes so far on her. And she's a girl that is returning to the island after 10 years. 10 years prior, she spent some time with some kids at a camp on the island, and they went out looking for this treasure that she found on this map that her father had. And apparently she found it at some point, so she's trying to rediscover the map for it, and now wants to go with Heidi to go actually see the treasure, which ends up being apparently a pirate ship. And it gives a lot of hints that Heidi is very familiar with the story that she's telling about her childhood there. So again, it kind of connects the idea that he possibly was a part of that group, or at least has some memory of that situation. But that's the gist of the story so far, and the girls that he's met. And again, kind of over time, him slowly bonding with these individuals, spending some time with them, having goofy shenanigans and whatnot. So my thoughts on the show so far, like I said before, I think this is a massive return to form for at least key visual arts, or at least adaptations of them. I fully acknowledge the idea that it isn't just the sum of it being a key visual arts that it's going to make it a good story or not. It typically is sort of how they take something that is a good story that's done by them, and having somebody, you know, doing a good job of adapting that into an anime adaptation. Because this typically is the big struggle that a lot of these adaptations have when it is based on a visual novel that has branching paths. Yes, when you play this visual novel, you're going to choose at some point by selections, you're going to ultimately start kind of veering towards a particular character story and away from the others. And I think they did a really fantastic job, specifically with Clannad way back in the day, because it did a good job of kind of, you know, having that inner plot line where it's kind of guiding the character through each interaction with the characters, but then every now and then veering off to each one of them and not really having to have the complete conclusion of the story, but at least enough that you get a feel for what the character is. And I think that's possibly what they can do with this one as well, but we'll have to wait and see. Again, so far it seems like they're currently doing Komay. Komay is going to be about this whole treasure. I'm assuming probably Shidaha would probably be the core story at the very end. She seems to be pretty much the poster child of the story, so I'd assume that she's probably the core of the story for later on. The big fear that I have in that whole situation, of course, is the fact that we're 4 episodes in. It seems like it's going to take about 3 episodes at least to do Komay's story. And if we only have one core here, it's not going to work out. We're not going to have enough time to really get into any of these characters besides Komay. Maybe possibly another character. So I'm hoping that this might actually be at least a 2-core story. If not, have a second season lined up for it in the future. Even still, my concern is more so in the idea that everything else is working for the show, but will the drama work out? So far with Komame's character, which is again the first character they're really kind of digging into, I haven't seen anything so far that's like really gripping me. This is just an idea of coming back to a place that you were before. Oh, back when we were kids, we went out treasure hunting. I'm still waiting for the punchline. I'm still waiting for something that really grabs me in the story. So far, it's kind of being carried by just the chemistry between Heidi and Komay. She has a goofy nature to her. There's goofy shenanigans happening during the time they're actually researching this whole stuff, seeking out the treasure itself. So it's being carried by the chemistry. I'm really kind of concerned more so is, will the punchline be good? Will the story itself come to an impactful ending? Or will it just be the journey that works out? Which is perfectly fine. It's just one of those things where even though the journey is really fantastic, I don't want the end to kind of ruin it. So we'll have to wait to see if that kind of plays out. But so far, again, going back to that, I think the show is just phenomenal when it comes to the actual chemistry of the characters. I think Heidi just kind of works. He's, again, similar to a Tomoya character. He's just somebody that knows how to kind of nip back. In a lot of cases with these harem type shows, visual novel type adaptations, the main character is kind of a self-insert. They don't want to give the character too much personality because then it kind of drives away from the person's feeling of, I guess, self-inserting. But Heidi just has a personality to himself. He likes to kind of, take jabs at these girls, and that always turns into a fun little interaction. I just get a massive kick out of it. I mean, most of the fun interactions have been between him and Umei and him and Ao. Umei, again, is very much a Fuko character. I love this whole bit where he gets his stuff, shipped to him, and he's got a package, and he opens up the package, and there's a photo of him with his swimming club. And again, he's got some kind of tie-in with that, seemed to be some sort of issue there. But Umei immediately walks up, looks down into the box and says, "Oh, is that you with a swimming club?" "No, it's me with a swimming trunks club." And she's like, "That's not a thing." "Yeah, it is. Go ask Aunt Kyoko about it." And she's like, "Aunt Kyoko, what's a swimming trunks club?" And then by the time she comes back, he's gone. And she's like, "You lie. There's no swimming trunk club." It's just the gullibility of her is fantastic. Him every now and then, getting soaked when he's out and about, coming home and he's got no shirt on. And she just starts getting all flustered about it. She's super adorable. I just love his interaction with her and how much she totally just falls for everything that he says, believes it to be true, even though she claims that she doesn't want to believe it's true. Those interactions are fantastic. And yeah, Ao is very much so a lot of the ecchi humor so far. There's a lot of kind of perviness to a lot of their conversations that just has a lot of fun with it. I love him having to try to get her school uniform for Komay so they can trick Shidaha's father. And he just walks up to her and says, "Ow, I need your school uniform." And she's like, "What the hell are you asking me about?" He's like, "No, I have a friend that's a big fan of it." And she's like, "Oh, I'm not used to people being a fan of me." He's like, "No, the school uniform. I'm talking about the school uniform. Chill out." Their interaction is a lot of fun. I get a kick out of it. I just get a massive kick out of it. There's been great chemistry, good comedy. The moment-to-moment writing is just spot on. I never really have a dull moment watching the show. Plus, add in the fact that it's just visually pleasing. I think Studio Phil is doing an excellent job of the show so far. Just the backdrops, the ambience, the directing that's working so well for just kind of just getting you in the mood and just in the isolation of this island, kind of enjoying the nostalgia that Heidi's going through and just experiencing the moment-to-moment with them. And again, the character designs are fantastic. I think all of them are just absolutely beautiful or just adorable. All across the board, literally, the show is just on point. I literally have no arguments about it so far, besides my fear of will it be able to kind of, again, because it's based on a visual novel with arcs, will it give enough for each of the characters? That's going to be the telling thing in the end. And I think that'll probably be something I won't be able to really kind of tell until it's over. So anyhow, that's my thoughts on Summer Pocket so far. Just absolutely working, absolutely loving it, and cannot suggest it more if you are a fan of key visual arts or just visual novels and kind of routed-based comedy with all the different waifu characters and all that kind of stuff. But like I always say, though, we'll just have to wait to see which one of them is dead, dying, or is a fox. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit the like button down below. If you like the content, you want to support channel more, I have links in the description below. Greatly appreciate it. Until next time, y'all take care.